From outside the school window I saw a familiar blue car pull up to the curb. Undoubtedly, it was my father in the driver's seat. "Oh, my ride's here. Well, I guess I'll see you both tomorrow."
Want us to come with you?
"Oh no, it's okay. I'll be fine. See you." "Hey, Dad."
Hey, honey.
As I got into the car, I noticed my father looked troubled, clutching at his steering wheel and staring straight ahead as if something was really bothering him.
About what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Does your cheek still hurt?
What do you think? No, it's nothing to worry about.
I mean it. I shouldn't have laid a finger on you. You know that you're my most precious daughter. You're all that I have.
This is what I like about, I'm actually glad that this was brought up because in the demo, he didn't even apologize. And I was so mad because you just don't do that. So I'm glad that they added it to the demo because honestly, I hated her father so much. And I don't hate him as much, but I still kind of hate him. I guess hate is kind of a strong word, but you get what I mean. Yet he couldn't bring himself to say that he could never say to me for such a long time. I always wanted to hear those words to affirm how he really felt, but I guess even now he couldn't say it to me. I turned away my head to look at the window. There was no point in waiting for something that was never going to come. And like that, he started to drive and the conversation between us ended. I decided to focus my attention on the passing scenery. We were taking the usual route to Grandfather's house. It was located within the vicinity of the school district, but it was still pretty far from the school and from where our house was. He had always lived alone. He insisted on doing things by himself, even at his age, living in such a large house. I wondered, did he pass away with no one at his side as well? It sounded so lonely and sad. It was strange that he decided on living all alone in his large estate. If anything, he could have lived with us, though he and my father probably would have given each other the silent treatment the entire time. Maybe living alone was preferable to that. I actually hadn't visited him for quite a while. Visits to his house were more frequent when I was a child, and I had grown up long since then. The last time I visited, though, I thought he looked just as he usually was, happy and healthy. But things changed. In the back of my mind, I knew that he would have to leave one day. It wasn't like humans could live forever. More foreshadowing! So why did my heart feel so heavy? The car ride was mostly spent in silence until he spoke up again.
How was school? Maintaining your grades, I hope.
Yeah. I've been trying my best as of so far.
Trying? That's not really doing the best you can, is it?
With my father, only some words I said were filtered through his ears. It was difficult to keep a conversation without eventually talking about academics or my future, even if it was something loosely based on it. He always found a way to integrate it whenever we talked.
Anyway, your belongings are in the trunk. There isn't a lot, so I'm sure you can manage bringing them inside the house. After all, you are on the road to being independent now.
Still annoys me. Couldn't have the decency to just go inside, help her get settled in for like the first few hours, and not feel completely abandoned. Yes, I can manage on my own. The usual silence resumed between us. I really wasn't sure what to say around him, especially when most of the time we didn't share the same opinions. One question did linger in my mind, though. If he was going to justify acting so nonchalant at Grandfather's funeral, I had the right to at least know why. Try again. Say, Dad, about you and Grandpa.
We are not talking about this.
I feel like we should, because Grandpa did leave us yesterday, so...
I wouldn't care if he had left even long before that. I do not want to hear it, and that is the end of this conversation.
As always, he managed to shut down any other form of conversation related to him. It was just like what happened last night. I opened my mouth slightly, but I closed it again. It was locked. It was like talking to a brick wall. It wasn't like I could find out anything by somehow arguing my way through it. All right then. I leaned against the car door and stared out the window. I really couldn't think. What would this place be like? I had been to my grandfather's house before, but it was one thing visiting, and it was another thing actually to live there. How would I manage living on my own without any training to really care for a house? I knew that naturally the bills would be paid by my parents, who inherited grandfather's stocks through the corporation, which would be so cool, in my opinion, if they paid for my bills. But you know what? Nope. I'm going on. Because honestly, she's gonna be an adult, she has to do work, not rely on her parents. Oh no. But whatever. Some stuff. Thinking about it made me feel like some kind of bird being pushed out of the nest. Though I was technically an adult, I felt unprepared and a bit daunted at the prospect of actually moving into a new place. Most people my age would be ecstatic moving out. After all, it would symbolize some kind of change in their lives, like being on the road to independence. But I felt like it was nothing of the sort. I really hoped I wouldn't let my parents down. I wouldn't want to let grandfather down. What would he be saying right now? I gazed up at the passing clouds in the sky. If you're out there, grandfather, how would you be doing? Would there be anything you'd want to tell me at this very moment? And of course, no answer. What was I doing? Searching for an answer in a heaven that would or would not exist? I ducked my head to stare at the blur of trees and cars from the car window. My head was definitely going into the clouds there at the moment. Either way, I found myself being driven off to my new home. The car rolled to a stop, and I drifted out of my thoughts.
Here we are. Go on in.
All right. Tell Mom I love her.
All right.
I love you, Dad. Why? Just say the words. I just want to feel like I'm worth something. No, make sure to come by and visit us often. No, I'm going to miss you lots. Nothing other than a blank stare? I paused a bit before reaching for the car door handle, waiting for any form of a goodbye, but he didn't speak again. I sighed and exited the car, hearing my dad pop open the trunk. I saw the 2 large bags I packed last night that were large enough to carry only the things I needed. I took them out, placed one bag on each shoulder, and closed the trunk. He then drove off, leaving me alone in front of the mansion. I watched the blue car fade into the distance of the road before turning to see my new home. What I want to know is if it's so far away from the school, are you just going to have to walk, take a bus, or how's this going on? They didn't even talk to the school about your moving or anything. So many things have been just goes by them as if they don't matter. There it is. It's huge. My grandfather gave me this? It's hard to believe. The house was framed by a set of tall gates, and I hesitantly pushed them aside to take in the entire estate. The house still looked like it was when I last visited him. At a glance, it seemed kind of intimidating with its size, though if I came closer to it, it was clear that there was more to it than that. The brick walls were framed by shrubbery and lovely flowers, giving it a homely and welcoming look, but in contrast, the tall doors into the house gave me a feeling of grandeur. Who knew what was waiting for me? But I wouldn't back down at this moment. I took out the key to the front door and unlocked them. Well, might as well make myself at home. I'll be staying here for quite a while anyways.